It could take a little bit of time for this market to regain traction.
The market volatility will likely continue in May.
Potentially news regarding tariffs from the White House could impact the stock.
But there are still plenty of winners to be found in the month ahead.
It's killing it right now. It's growing at double digits.
MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes shares his top 5 stock picks for May.
And is now offering a 35% upside relative to the analyst consensus forecast.
And his list includes a very contrary view from what another analyst on this channel talked about just last week.
You have a stock that you like. If somebody's opinion challenges it, it may strengthen your resolve. It may lead you to make a different decision.
Who will you side with this May? Let's dive in. Tom, it's so great to have you back for one of our favorite segments, and that's which stocks you're buying this month. And going into May, it's a really big one because it's earnings season, and there's all kinds of really big reports still coming out yet. We're recording this on Wednesday morning, so there's some really big ones coming out today that we won't even have included in this conversation. But these stocks you've put together, the 5 stock picks you have for May, kind of have some things in common.
Well, right, they do. They all have leadership positions in technology. They're all supported by AI, and they're all giving pretty strong signals at critical support levels.
Before we get to your list here, just talk about some fundamentals that people should be looking at from the data coming in from earnings.
Well, right. So what we're looking at is just to see, strong results. We want to see them performing well and growing and providing some stable guidance. And so part of what has set up these buys for this month are a combination of factors that are kind of ubiquitous across these 5 stocks. They've all got these leadership positions, but headwinds and uncertainty have entered the picture. All right, that's caused a market reset, an analyst reset of the earnings outlook. So earnings is the driving force of the stock market. The earnings outlook is still positive, but it's been diminished. But right now, what I see is that the reset has kind of been overblown, overcorrected. The bar has been set very low. I'm expecting all of these companies to outperform and to provide good guidance and provide a catalyst for rallies.
Oh, very good. Well, we don't want to keep our viewers waiting, so we're going to get right into your list of 5 stocks to buy for May. I do want to say we really appreciate everyone who subscribes to this channel and gets to look at Thomas's stock picks for the month every month. Please hit that subscribe button so you can join us for all of these conversations and hear the variety of opinions we have on that channel. We're going to have a little bit more of that differing opinion coming up at the end of this list. Let's start with the first company making the top of your list for buying in May.
Yeah, that's Nvidia. Nvidia is the market leader. It's the most important stock for AI. We are expecting to see AI spending shift to some other areas of the AI industry, but Nvidia is still the #1 player. Robust demand for all of its products. Blackwell demand is outpacing production. So this company should report very strongly. And as I was saying, the analysts have kind of reset their outlook. They've reduced their expectations a little bit, but they're still looking for solid 62% year-over-year growth. This is on top of the last couple of years of triple-digit growth. So 62% is a pretty big number for this company. The long-term outlook is still very good. So I see no reason not to be buying this stock right now.
And it's quite a discount. In fact, there was one point where it was under $100 by quite a ways, actually,
Right.
in the mid-90s. I'm sure you were one of the people buying that dip then. But some people are a little bit worried that this is maybe more of the true valuation for Nvidia, and that what we're seeing right now is a pop of a little bit of a bubble in AI, especially for companies and chip makers like Nvidia. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, right. There certainly was a bubble in Nvidia and in the AI industry in general. But what I think we're seeing now is the market consolidating into the long-term outlook, which is still pretty robust. We're expecting Nvidia to continue growing at a double-digit pace through the middle of the next decade. In that forecast, the valuation is very low, and it aligns with the analyst forecast for a 50% upside. So I think it could take a little bit of time for this market to regain traction, but I see the uptrend intact and this stock moving higher over time.
I know there's going to be a lot riding on Nvidia's earnings report that comes out a month from now. Do you expect any analyst revisions to come in before that, or will most of those revisions, if they come after the earnings report that Nvidia has?
There could be some revisions trickling in between now and then, but I would expect to see a bulk of revisions come after the release, either due to the results itself or to whatever news is released alongside of it. Potentially news regarding tariffs from the White House. All of those factors could impact this stock.
All right, so Nvidia is your #1 for May. What's your second stock pick for this month?
That would be Amazon. I think Amazon has dual tailwinds in the consumer and with AI. AWS is banging. It's killing it right now. It's growing at double digits. It's becoming a more significant part of the business. The whole lean into AI, the data center, helps drive efficiencies in the consumer business. Consumer data is still fairly strong. There's been a pullback and a shift in spending, but retail spending is still generally strong and supporting this business over the long term.
And Amazon earnings coming out on Thursday. What are we anticipating for that?
Again, we're expecting growth, but the bar has been reduced, so we're expecting a lesser amount of growth than what we had been expecting earlier in the year. But again, as I've been saying, all this reset of sentiment and outlook, I think, has been overdone. I think the bar has been set too low, and I'm expecting Amazon to outperform. We've seen some other companies already outperform that are like similarly positioned, not exactly like Amazon, but in the tech space and in AI. Google did very well, and ServiceNow did very well, and Palantir have all done very well, supported by AI spending. I see that spilling over into Amazon.
Let's talk about the consumer side of Amazon a little bit. I'm curious to see what kind of impact tariffs maybe continue to have on this company, and also maybe a sign of kind of consumer confidence in the economy. What could a shift in consumer spending do to this stock too?
It could hurt it. I think what we'll see in this quarter's report is potentially a boost in spending, possibly from consumers trying to front run tariffs or price increases. A lot of Amazon's products are sourced from or through China. So it will be interesting to see.
All right, Amazon's your second pick for the month. What is the third company you're looking at in May?
I'm looking at Microsoft. This stock is also down significantly, also showing pretty solid support at critical technical levels. As far as the business goes, I see it being well diversified across many sectors. It's providing business services, AI services, but also is critical to AI infrastructure and the cloud. So it's got many tailwinds driving its business, and I expect to see it also outperforming this quarter.
Anything else to say about what we're expecting to come out in the earnings report for Microsoft?
Well, what we want to see is some strength in Asia. Asia is their cloud segment, the AI-centric segment. That's where a lot of the infrastructure spending has been going. But we're also going to want to see some strength in the other segments that show businesses are leaning more into the AI services. And that would help us kind of cement that long-term outlook.
How much of a discount has this stock been trading at the last couple of weeks and months as the market went down? Or are we seeing a little bit of an upturn heading into earnings?
Well, so you can see with this chart, Microsoft corrected along with the broad market here first part of the year. It's down 15-20% at the lows, but it's showing some pretty good support in line with this long-term moving average and at this critical level, which was a previous all-time high. This is a pretty strong, stable level, I would say. What we're looking for at the very least is for this market to be trending sideways along this level and then potentially moving higher. This quarterly report could trigger that rally. We could see it begin moving higher very soon. I do not expect to see it move below this green line or this yellow line right here, this pretty strong support level. If we see this happen, that would indicate a pretty significant breakdown in the outlook, and that would be bad news for the entire market, not just for Microsoft.
Yeah, with a stock this big, any movement in Microsoft, especially huge ones, is going to have ripple effects through the whole market because it's just that big of a stock. Your next stock pick isn't quite as big yet, but it's one that we have talked about on this channel quite a bit, Thomas.
Yeah, that's Palantir. We like Palantir. It's a great AI company, provides really good services. And right now what we have is a strong dual tailwind in the commercial, the private side of the business, and the public government side of the business. There was some fear that the DOGE labor cuts would impact spending on these kind of services. But what we've seen with results from Palantir and also with ServiceNow is that DOGE spending cuts really mean the government's going to start leaning more heavily on automation. That's fantastic for Palantir. But also, Palantir is important for defense. There's a pledge from the president to increase defense spending by about 12% next year. We might not get that much, but I do think that we're going to get an increase. That's great for Palantir and other defense companies. At the same time, we've got the private sector leaning into data-centric services and the automation that they can provide and the business insights that they can provide. And that's also supporting Palantir's business. The results just came out. They were pretty strong. They're accelerating. Guidance was solid. The stock price responded pretty favorably. I see no reason why this one won't be hitting all-time highs pretty soon.
Yeah, some strong potential for Palantir, but I don't want to ignore the big question that always comes up with this stock, and that's, is it overpriced? It's a buy for you in May, but is it a good buy at this price? Because there's been so much price action on this stock in just the last few weeks.
Well, right. It's been pretty volatile, and it tends to be volatile because we really don't know what the stock is worth. The valuation is very high this year, but the long-term outlook is very robust. I think that it's a low outlook. I think that the tailwinds of private spending and government spending are going to be very good for this company long term. So as an investor, I would be prepared for volatility, but target those pullbacks to build on a position.
I also don't want to ignore that on a stock like this that's had so many moves, there's a lot of options traders in there really kind of moving some of the action on this stock too, right?
Well, right. That's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The stock is volatile. The volatility attracts options traders, so they get into the mix and they're adding in, they're buying and selling, and that can kind of increase volatility as well. So it's another reason that investors should really be cautious and wary with their approach.
Yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind, especially for Palantir moving into May. If you're interested in options trading and how people are making money off of moves like this, check out the latest free report on MarketBeat.com right now. It's all about unlocking the potential in options trading. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video to get that free report on MarketBeat.com right now. All right, moving on to your final pick for May. And Thomas, this one is controversial largely because we had an opposite view of this stock right on the channel just last week. If you caught our video with Mark Chaikin talking about 3 technology stocks to buy and 3 tech stocks to drop right now, you have a very different opinion than what Mark had on your final pick for May.
Yeah, I'm looking at Oracle. I like this stock for many reasons. Its shift to the cloud was timely. It's helped transition the business from a legacy tech to a new, modern, longer lasting tech company. Its use of AI for itself and for its clients is driving business. It's emerging as a hyperscaler. It's now like, I think, the 4th largest hyperscaler. It's still the very smallest one, but it's growing the fastest. Its database is ubiquitous across clouds. When it comes to multi-cloud and cross-cloud operations, Oracle is at the center of all that. Now, your previous guest was concerned because the results over the past few quarters, I think, have been below expectations and been kind of tepid, and I will fully agree with that. Part of why I like this stock so much and why I like it on this pullback is because that over the past few quarters, while the results haven't quite matched this high expectation, the company's pipeline and backlog and remaining performance obligation have been growing at a high double-digit rate and accelerating. So that's all going to start showing up in the revenue numbers real soon, possibly this quarter or next quarter, but definitely this year, because this company is leaning heavily into data center build out, AI infrastructure, and providing compute power for all these large projects, and it's all going to start coming online this year.
Yeah, that's a good point for Oracle. I want to address the other concern that Market had, and that was that Oracle is on a dip, like you said, and that's why it's one of your buys because it's such a low price right now. But their dip started even before the rest of the market started to go down, kind of in that late January, February timeframe. Oracle has kind of been on a downward trend since maybe November of last year.
Yeah, I see that as a retracement of a previous move. The market broke to a new high. It ran up to quite an extended high following that, based on this AI bubble. This AI expectation hasn't quite unfolded as quickly as people were hoping. The market has corrected back to that critical level. We're still expecting this revenue to come through. It's on their books. It just hasn't been recognized yet. There's clear momentum in the business. So once that starts coming through in the numbers, I think that the market will start picking back up again and start moving higher.
And what do analysts have to say about Oracle? Have there been any recent revisions that would give you pause, or is it still looking pretty strong?
The analyst sentiment is still very strong for this stock. Like the other stocks, it's experienced a bit of a reset with a few price target reductions, but the market for Oracle, like all these stocks and most of the broad market, has overcorrected to low levels and is now offering a 35% upside relative to the analyst consensus forecast. I think that's sufficient to put it at a new all-time high. Moving to a new all-time high is significant for any stock because it can be a trigger for new money. And at that point, we could see this market continue to run higher through the end of the year, or next year, depending on when that new high is set.
All right, very interesting. I want to kind of end the discussion today with one of my favorite things about this channel, and that's that you get to hear feedback and stock ideas that might be completely opposite. And it's good to hear information and viewpoints from different investors out there. How do you think that the retail investors watching this can really evaluate the different opinions they might be hearing on some of these different stocks right now?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up. I don't like people to have different opinions than mine necessarily, but I enjoy reading them because it makes me think about and challenges my own opinion. And so sometimes when I see this challenging opinion, I'm like, wow, so I think maybe this guy could be right, and I'll go down that path. But maybe it makes me reassess my own position. And with Oracle right now, I'm feeling even stronger than ever because I do still believe in this long-term fundamental outlook. So I will say the same thing for investors. You have a stock that you like. If somebody's opinion challenges it, investigate it, see what it says. It may strengthen your resolve. It may lead you to make a different decision.
Oh, that's some really good advice, Thomas. Love to hear it. One other thing I forgot to talk about, and that's anything to keep our eye out for in May. Anything that could be coming up in the economy or announcements that might come up in month that investors should maybe be prepared for.
Three big things would be if these upcoming earnings reports don't live up to expectations, or if they actually do live up to these diminished expectations and don't outperform, that would be a negative. If we get bad news on the tariff situation or on trade deals, right now we think that we're past the worst of the worst case and we're looking forward to some deals happening. So if that kind of falls apart, that would also be bad. But then also there's the economic data. Right now, the economic data is still pretty firm. We're not expecting a major recession, but that could change quickly. So we're going to want to watch out for all those things.
Yeah, to me, that sounds like the volatility isn't quite over. It's
No.
not necessarily smooth sailing from here. But I think, Thomas, you are one who still has that outlook for some positive gains more towards the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Thanks, Thomas, for your time today and for your May stock picks. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with some of Thomas's picks? Are they on your list too? Or what other stocks might be on your list to buy in May? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. And as always, happy investing.